dynasty that ruled Low Country law. The night the king killed his own blood. Moselle. June 7th, 2021, 9:06 p.m. A man calls 911. His voice cracks in all the right places. His wife, he says. His boy, shot, down by the dog kennels. The dispatcher hears a father unraveling. The cops hear a grieving husband. The whole state of South Carolina hears a Murdaugh. And a Murdaugh, in this corner of the world, is something close to God. For 100 years, that name ran the Low Country. Solicitors, prosecutors, kingmakers. The family decided who went to prison and who walked free. The family decided which bodies got investigated and which ones got buried. But that night, by the kennels, something broke. 2 bodies in the dirt, blood soaking into pine straw, and a story that didn't quite fit the wounds. This is the story of a lawyer who stole millions, a husband who pulled the trigger, a dynasty that thought it was untouchable, and the 14-year-old voice on a cell phone video that dragged it all into the light. 5 acts, 1 family, and a confession that nobody was supposed to find. Act 1. The Stain. 2 bodies at the kennels, a 911 call that doesn't add up. The deputies roll up on Moselle at 9:20 p.m. 1,700 acres of hunting land, the kind of estate where money whispers instead of shouts. Alex Murdaugh meets them at the gate, shirt clean, hands shaking. He points down the dirt road toward the kennels. The smell hits them first. Copper, gun smoke, summer heat cooking a scene already gone to hell. Maggie Murdaugh lies face down near the feed room, 52 years old, shot 4 times with a .308 rifle. The rounds so powerful, they tore through her like paper. 1 to the head. The exit wound. The deputies look away. 12 feet behind her, her son. Paul Murdaugh, 22, shot twice with a 12-gauge shotgun. The first round caught him in the chest. The second was fired so close it nearly took his head off. 2 different guns, 2 different shooters, or 1 man walking between them. Alex tells the story. He was at the main house, took a nap, drove up to see his mother in Alameda, came back, found them like this. The deputies nod. They take notes. They call in SLED, the State Law Enforcement Division, because this isn't just any double homicide. This is a Murdaugh. The grandfather was a solicitor. The father was a solicitor. The uncles ran the biggest personal injury firm in the Low Country. Alex himself prosecuted cases part-time. The kid on the ground, Paul, was under indictment for killing a teenage girl in a drunken boat crash 2 years earlier. The family had enemies. That's what Alex tells the cops. Someone came for Paul because of the boat case. Maggie just got in the way. It's a tidy story, almost too tidy. But SLED agents walk the scene and something itches at them. No shell casings from the rifle. The shotgun shells, yes, but the rifle brass, gone. Someone picked them up. Someone who knew. The kennels have cameras. The phones have data. And in Paul Murdaugh's front pocket, still in his jeans, is an iPhone. Recording. A video, 53 seconds long, taken at 8:44 p.m. Paul was filming a dog with a chicken in its mouth. And in the background, voices. 3 of them. Paul, Maggie, And a third voice, unmistakable. Alex Murdaugh, at the kennels, minutes before the shots. The man who swore he was never there. The video ends at 8:45. Both victims are dead by 8:50. Alex had 5 minutes to become something else. SLED doesn't tell him they have the video. Not yet. They let him talk. They let him grieve on camera. They let him build the lie, brick by brick. And then they start pulling the bricks out, one by one. Act 2. The Shadows. A dynasty of lies, a hitman story, a body on the roadside. For 3 months, the case goes nowhere. Publicly, the headlines scream about Maggie and Paul. The Murdaugh family offers a $100,000 reward. Alex plays the shattered patriarch. Cable news eats it up. A hitman, a cartel, revenge for the boat case. Of course, it's always the shadowy stranger, never the man standing over the bodies. But behind the curtain, SLED is pulling threads, and every thread ends somewhere ugly. Start with the law firm, PMPED, Peters, Murdaugh, Parker, Elsroth, and Dietrich. Alex's family firm, Alex's clients. Settlement money that was supposed to go to widows and paraplegics, vanishing into accounts only Alex controlled. Millions, stolen from people who couldn't walk. There was Gloria Satterfield, the Murdaugh housekeeper, died in 2018 after a supposed fall at Moselle. Her sons got nothing. The insurance paid out $4.3 million in their name. Alex kept it, all of it. There was Hakeem Pinkney, a deaf quadriplegic teenager, won a big settlement. Alex took the money and bought hunting land. There was Mallory Beach, the 19-year-old girl Paul killed in the boat crash. Her family was suing the Murdaughs for millions. The case was scheduled for discovery hearings. Alex was about to have to open his books in court. The hearing was set for June 10th, 2021. Maggie and Paul died on June 7th, 3 days before the books opened. Do you see it yet? Do you see the shape of it? Because SLED did, but they needed proof, hard proof. And Alex Murdaugh? Alex wasn't going quietly. On September 4th, 3 months after the murders, Alex calls 911 again. Says he's been shot in the head on a country road. Roadside assistance, flat tire, gunman appeared from nowhere. Another mystery attacker. What were the odds? The cops find him. Superficial wound, bullet grazed his skull, and within 48 hours, the story crumbles like wet cardboard. Alex hired a man to kill him. Curtis Eddie Smith, cousin, dealer, pill supplier. The plan? Smith shoots Alex dead. Alex's surviving son collects $10 million in life insurance. Debts go away. Smith couldn't do it. Pulled the trigger, missed on purpose, grazed him. A lawyer hiring his drug dealer to murder him for the insurance? That's the kind of desperation you can't fake. And desperation talks. The firm starts auditing. The stolen millions surface. 94 million by some counts. Clients going back decades. Alex is disbarred. Alex is arrested. Alex is charged with fraud, money laundering, theft. But not murder. Not yet. The state is building the bigger case. Quiet, careful. Because you don't charge a Murdaugh with killing his own family unless you can nail the coffin shut the first time. And somewhere in an evidence locker, a blue iPhone sits waiting. Its battery dead. Its last video, 53 seconds of a dog and a chicken, and 3 voices. The prosecutors play it back, again and again and again, until they're sure, until they can hear it in their sleep. That third voice at the kennels belongs to the man who said he was never there. Act 3. The Deviant. Opioids. Embezzlement. The man behind the Southern smile. Let's talk about who Alex Murdaugh really was. Not the lawyer, not the good old boy with the Carolina drawl. The other one. The one in the dark. For 20 years, Alex was eating oxycodone by the handful. 60 pills a day by his own admission later. 60. That's not addiction. That's an industrial operation. He was paying Curtis Smith, the same cousin who would later shoot him on the roadside, to buy him pills. Cash every week. Sometimes $10,000 at a time. The money came from clients. Stolen settlement funds laundered straight into his veins. His wife knew something was wrong. Maggie had started looking at the accounts, talking to an accountant. She was asking questions he couldn't answer. Paul knew too. The son had been pulling away from the father, drinking hard, fighting with Alex over the boat case. Paul was facing prison, and Alex's defense strategy was unconventional. Alex wanted to use family money, stolen money, to pay witnesses. Paul had started to see the rot. A father who steals from the dead. A father who drugs himself numb. A father who watches his son sink and reaches for a checkbook full of other people's money. That was Alec Murdaugh under the Brooks Brothers shirt. And here's where it gets colder. On the morning of June 7th, the day of the murders, Alex went to work. Normal day, handled files, smiled at staff. That afternoon, the law firm's CFO confronted him. She had found missing fees, hundreds of thousands of dollars, questions he couldn't dodge. She gave him a deadline. Come clean by Monday. Monday was June 10th. The Mallory Beach hearing, the discovery, the audit. His entire scaffold was about to fall. So he drove home to Moselle. He had supper with Maggie and Paul. He walked with them at some point that evening down to the kennels. And then he made a decision.
The theory the prosecution would build goes like this. Alex killed them to generate sympathy, to delay the investigations, to reset the clock. A grieving husband doesn't get audited. A grieving father doesn't get questioned about missing millions. A family in mourning gets cover. He traded their lives for time. Paul first, maybe. The shotgun, close range. The first blast to stagger him. The second, point blank, to finish. Maggie saw it, or she heard it and came running. She was shot in the back as she fled. Then, headshots, execution style. 4 shots for her, 2 for him. His own family. The woman he had slept beside for decades. The boy whose diapers he had changed. And then he walked up to the house, showered, changed clothes, drove to see his mother, his elderly mother with dementia, to plant an alibi with a woman who couldn't remember what day it was. Then he came back, called 911, cried. Cried real tears, too. Witnesses would say so. A man who could weep for cameras with blood still damp on his hands. The prosecution would later prove he lied about the alibi. His mother's caretaker said he was there only 15 minutes, not 45. The math of murder doesn't round up. They had motive. They had opportunity. They had the pattern of a man capable of stealing from cripples and hiring his own killer. Now they just needed to put him at the kennels. And for that, they needed the phones. Act 4. The Trap. The phones speak. The prosecution strikes. The king falls. January 2023, Walterboro, South Carolina. The trial of the century. Judge Clifton Newman on the bench. Prosecutor Creighton Waters at the podium, and Alec Murdaugh in a gray suit, hair thinning, hands folded like a man at church.
The defense theory was simple. Alec loved his family. He was home when it happened, yes, but he didn't do it. Stranger, hitman, revenge. And then the prosecution pressed play on that 53-second video. The courtroom went silent. You could hear the dog barking. You could hear Paul laughing. You could hear Maggie's voice, the last recording of it anywhere in the world. And you could hear Alex, clear as a bell. It's a Bubba. The man who swore under oath to SLED, to the FBI, to the grand jury that he was never at the kennels that night, was on tape, at the kennels, 5 minutes before his wife and son were executed. The jury leaned forward. You could see it in the courtroom sketches. Then came the phones. Alex's iPhone, step-counted, GPS tracked. Between 8:09 and 8:53, he took 0 steps. Dead phone in pocket. Then suddenly, at 8:54, 283 steps. Rapid, frantic, like a man sprinting from a scene. Maggie's phone, thrown from a moving vehicle at 9:06 p.m., exactly when Alex's own tracker showed him driving that same stretch of road toward his mother's house, the alibi road. Ditch the phone, drive on. Paul's phone, locked at 8:49, forever. The prosecution laid it out like a railroad timetable, minute by minute, ping by ping. A choreography of murder danced out in data. The defense called Alex to the stand. His own lawyers begged him not to. He took the stand anyway, a lifelong courtroom animal who thought he could charm one more jury. He cried. He admitted the stealing. He admitted the lies. He admitted he was at the kennels, finally. But he swore he didn't kill them. Paranoid, he said, from the opioids. He lied because he didn't trust the police. A prosecutor who didn't trust the police. Sure. Creighton Waters took him apart, piece by piece, lie by lie. Every answer a new hole, every explanation thinner than the last. March 2nd, 2023. The jury deliberates for 3 hours. 3 hours on a capital double murder case. They come back. Foreman stands. Guilty on all counts. 2 consecutive life sentences. Judge Newman looks down at him from the bench, speaks in a voice like granite, tells him about the wife he shared a bed with, tells him about the son he raised, tells him that the Murdaugh name that opened every door in the Lowcountry is now the name of a murderer. Alex stands, hands cuffed. The dynasty, 100 years of power, walks out in shackles through the side door of the courthouse his grandfather once ruled. Mask off, crown gone, king dead. And somewhere in the gallery, the families of all the people he had stolen from sat quietly, watching the man who ruined their lives finally become what he always was.
Act 5. The Void. What the dynasty left behind. The bodies nobody counted. The trial ended. The sentences were handed down. Life plus decades for the fraud. But the bodies kept surfacing. Gloria Satterfield, the housekeeper who fell down the stairs in 2018. Her body was exhumed, her death reopened, officially still unresolved. Her sons still waiting for the $4.3 million that should have been theirs from day one. Stephen Smith, a 19-year-old nursing student, found dead on a rural road in 2015. Called a hit and run at the time, except no vehicle debris was ever found. Except his shoes were still tied. Except his family always said it looked like a beating, not a car. Stephen Smith went to high school with Buster Murdaugh, Alex's older son.
His case was reopened in 2021 after the Moselle murders. As of today, it remains unsolved. Mallory Beach, 19. Thrown from Paul Murdaugh's drunken boat in 2019. Her body found a week later, floating in the marsh. Her family's lawsuit, the lawsuit Alex was trying to dodge on the day he killed his wife and son, finally settled. But Mallory is still dead, and Paul, who killed her, died with no reckoning of his own. No verdict, just a father's shotgun. That's the math of this family. Every Murdaugh problem ended with someone else in the ground. For 100 years, the dynasty had a rule. Bad things happen, bad things get fixed. Badges, judges, sheriffs, all in the pocket. Witnesses forget, files vanish, reports soften. The name did the work. How many got buried because of a phone call from a Murdaugh? How many cases got closed because the solicitor smiled and said, "Let it go"? We don't know. We'll never know. And the stolen millions? Some of it recovered, most of it gone. Blown on drugs, blown on boats, blown on keeping up the performance of Southern aristocracy while widows ate generic cereal and quadriplegics waited for chairs that never came. The firm collapsed, the name poisoned. Cousins and nephews who had nothing to do with it now carry it like a brand. And in a quiet cemetery in Hampton County, Maggie and Paul lie side by side, buried by the family that killed them, visited occasionally by the man locked away forever. He writes them letters from prison, they say, to his wife, to his son, as if ink on a page could undo the rifle, the shotgun, the silence after 8:49. Evil doesn't always wear a stranger's face. Sometimes it wears a husband's, a father's, a prosecutor's. Sometimes it wears a 100-year-old name and calls itself justice. Aftermath. What a name can hide, what a phone won't let it. Here's the truth this case leaves behind. Power protects itself until it can't. For a century, the Murdaugh name was a shield against audits, against indictments, against the inconvenient deaths of people who got too close to the family's money. It took a dying boy's cell phone to break the spell. 53 seconds of dog barking, 3 voices in the Carolina dusk. A piece of evidence the killer forgot to pocket because he didn't know it was recording. That's all it took. One recording, one forgotten phone, to bring down a dynasty that thought it owned the ground it walked on. Justice didn't come from the system. The system was the Murdaughs. Justice came from a boy filming a chicken at 8:44 on the last night of his life. Maggie was 52. Paul was 22. They had dinner together that night. They walked down to the kennels together. They laughed at a dog. 5 minutes later, their husband and father became their executioner. The Murdaugh name still exists. It'll outlive the trial. Someone, someday, will grow up with it and try to live it down. But in Hampton County, South Carolina, in the swamps and the courthouse halls, and the quiet roads where bodies keep turning up, the name doesn't mean power anymore. It means what it always meant. Just with the mask finally off.